Hello, this is Vlada, and today we're gonna look at the database of one of the players on GG Poker. We have 190 hands available, which is a pretty good sample. Like, we can do the same with a much lower sample, but yeah, I would suggest something like 30k hands at least, I guess. And then the more you have, the better. The more you have that represent your game, the better it is. So on the left we're gonna have hero stats, and on the right we're gonna have population stats from his database, basically. This is going to be filtered for regs only, and you can also do the same for recreational, but this time we're going to focus only on regs and how he can adjust and exploit tendencies of regulars in his player pool. So on the right we're going to have regs, and on the left we're going to have his stats. We're also going to use this here where we're gonna mention the main things where he can improve, and we're gonna have this checklist basically where the next time he sent database we're gonna see if he improved on things that that we mentioned here. So it's gonna be his leaks for improvement and population leaks for exploit. So we're gonna basically check things that he did. Also, what we're gonna have here, we're gonna have these stats here combined. We're gonna have his stats, and below we're gonna have population stats. So what this means is we're gonna have these colors basically where the red stats represent passive stats, or someone who is low betting volume, doesn't basically put money in the pot too much, and we want as many yellow stats as possible, and green numbers are going to be high betting volume or like a very aggressive stats. And as you can see, both population and player doesn't have any green stats, and most are going to be red or yellow. So also we have this target achievement rate, which basically means how far we're going to have target numbers here, and it's going to be different for different stakes. We also have top reg stats for just comparison, but target stats are going to be different based on the games that players are playing. So we're going to have this target achievement rate, which basically means how far the player is in percentages from the target numbers. So you can also compare this with top regs if you want, but for here we're going to look at the target numbers that I think are good for the stakes that this player is playing. And you can see in each stats how far you are off in percentages, and this is the total combined. So you want this number to be as low as possible. And yeah, like having like a really good stats is really hard, and really takes a good understanding of the game, and it's not really easy to fix. But yeah, some things are really easy to fix, and we are going to try to focus on what is the easiest fix, and explain exactly how we can do that. So here what we can see is that the player is playing still tight, but a little bit more aggressive than Rex is in his player pool. His one-man solve flop number is on the lower side, but still pretty okay. Like I would like it to be like at least like 46. The higher the better. 47, 48 is going to be good, but in some games when you play a lot of multi-way pots, it's not really going to be possible. But yeah, like it's not about single stats. Like you want all combined stats to make sense, and you want your game to make sense, that like you're basically showing in your stats that you're exploiting tendencies of the population. Because in most games there is going to be, most players are going to be very exploitable, as we're going to see today. So here the stats I'm interested here is going to be, so we're going to start with river. So river betting for our player is 36, lower than his population, which is at 40. But more importantly, the weak frequency. His weak frequency is 19%, which is low. You want this to be around 25, something like that, depending on the stakes you play. And here what you can see is that this player is basically under bluffing everywhere massively. And that's probably going to be true for his population as well. So what we can see is that population is also under bluffing. So here they would need this number to be a little bit less than 33, because for pot would be 33, but this is between 0.8 and pot, so a little bit less, but they're still too far, which means basically then in a lot of spots you can look to fold range, and we can look into more specific spots where is not as simple as like fold range everywhere, because there is going to be a lot of spots available where you can actually call range, because they're going to be very, very bluff heavy, because they're not going to have, in certain lines they're not going to have value, so we're going to try to find those. The next very important thing is turn betting, and like for the flop also, like how much, this is all the lines where hero folded on the river, so fold or check fold. So this number you want to be lower than this. So what this number indicates in both of these sample is that you're either like too passive, or like both overfolding, and then like your check folding hands that you can potentially bluff, or yeah, value bet maybe. So these two numbers both indicates that there is a lot of overfolding going on here basically, and we're gonna look for ways to exploit that. Next up on the turn, we see that player is betting 38 where his population is betting 40. Both of these numbers are low, so you don't need to remember all of these numbers now. Everything is going to be written in the sheet, so you can compare your numbers with the sheet. What we can see again, weak frequency at 40% for player, and for population we have at 38, which is like very low. We want this to be at like 44, 45, something like that. So what this means that turn is very like underbluffed, and we should look to overfold. So for the flop numbers for player, the most important one that I'm looking is check fold on the flop, fold and check fold. So this player has it at 37, so I think he's doing a good job here not folding, where his population is overfolding at 43%. So why it's good to not fold? Basically, when we look at these samples, it's very good not to fold in early streets, both like pre-flop and flop, because what happens is when we see how these players are playing, this population is playing on turns and rivers, they're basically going to let us over realize equity. So we are incentivized to call a lot pre-flop because we're going to over realize, and also we're going to be incentivized to call on the flop because we're going to see more turns and rivers and realize more equity, and also we're going to have some really attractive spots to over bluff. We can basically call flop and bluff range in many spots because there are going to be a lot of overfolds, as we're going to see soon. So what we are going to cover now, we're going to go by this here. So we're going to go first pre-flop, and we're going to talk about 40 big blinds, 30 big blinds. So starting with 40 big blinds, we're going to talk first as what this player can do to improve. So if you go here to 40 big blinds, what we can see is that players' leaks for improvement are going to be these three. So he wants to 3-bet more small blind versus MP. So notice that like there is a lot of leaks here, and I could put like 10 things here, but I want to focus on most important ones and actionable ones, where we want to make sure that this is going to be really implemented, instead of like listing like 10 or 20 things and then it's just going to be so confusing. So this is like a really a hot spot where a population is really going to overfold when they're MP against a small blind 3-bet. So this is going to be really good in this player pool. Also big blind versus late position. This player is not 3-betting enough, as we can see here. He is 3-betting button against big blind against button and cutoff only like 7 and 8%, which sometimes can be fine if you're playing against like recreational players and players that are not going to fold too much. But if you look at the player pool here that he's playing against, Rex specifically, against Rex, I think it's definitely going to be good to 3-bet even more, as we're most likely going to see an overfold here. So if you look at the defense against 3-bets, button against small blind, big blind, we can see that there is quite a big overfold. Yes, there is ICM, of course, and it's going to be different. But even considering ICM, these numbers are going to be way. It's going to be some PKO, so like that's gonna basically cancel each other a little bit. So when you see this big overfold, you can make sure that this is definitely going to be an overfolded spot. Same thing, cutoff as well, massive overfold. So yeah, like a very easy one to exploit. So yeah, this also like 3-bet more BVB population overfolds. So as we can look, this guy is big blind versus small blind open. He's not 3-betting even close, so he's 3-betting 6 instead of 12. And the problem is even bigger, because what we can see here is that if you look at defense against 3-bet, small blind versus big blind 3-bet is again massive overfold, right? So yeah, like we can so they're gonna jam more because they're probably gonna open stronger range, but when they open, they're gonna be folding a ton, because it is quite hard to defend with a polarized range when you open with 40 big blinds. So next, the main population leaks to exploit at pre-flop at 40 big blinds. So number one is going to be they limp too strong of a range, right? So what's our exploit against that? So if someone is limping strong, so let's look how they play. So they limp 37 instead of 53, which is going to be the GTO frequency, right? So basically what's going to happen is they're going to limp a very strong range. And what do we expect? So after we raise, so what's going to happen? Obviously they're going to call more. They're not going to fold. So if you look at the, so we can open GTO Wizard and take a quick look at how these 40 big blinds should be played. And what we can see is that they should fold what, like 40 something percent, right? So we have here GPV. So the thing is, they're not going to have the Jack 3 offs, the 10 4 offs, the 9 5 offs, like this kind of stuff. They're not going to have enough, or they maybe put some of these in the raising range. And what happens? So instead of limp folding 43%, they're going to limp fold much less. So they're going to limp fold 36 only. So this is going to be a pretty big difference. Again, yes, there is ICM, there is stuff, but it's still very clean to see that they're definitely limping way too strong range, and then they're not folding enough. So what's our exploit against that? So so you want to think which parts of our range really benefits from it. So where does the EV come from? So basically from our strong hand, we don't want to bluff too much against this guy, right? Yes, we still want to, but we want to have more playable hands, because we're not going to get, so 7 deuce off is going to drop in value, but aces is going to go way higher, way higher in value. Also, what we want, another thing we want to do, we want to size up, right? So in many cases, people are not really they're not elastic to the ranges as the solver is. So they basically defend in a similar way. They kind of have a memory of like which hands are limp calls and which hands are limp folds. And if you make it 3.5 or 3.9, they're kind of defending the same, which is which is crazy, but it is like that. When you see the samples and stats, it is like that. So what we want to do, if you want to play maximally exploitable strategy, you just want to size up and play way stronger range. So you want to, that's the maximum punishing for the strategy they're using. So you can do whatever you want. You can even make it 4.5 if you think they're gonna defend the similar range. But yeah, I would suggest something sizing up to 3.7, 3.8, expecting them to defend this pretty much the same range and be much more value heavy. So again, the next thing, they overfold BBB versus small blind raise. We already saw that, so we want to raise more. Very quick exploit and very simple one. So they're overfolding from to 3-bets from MP versus blinds. We already covered that. 3-bet more, so they're overfolding on cutoff and button. Also against cutoff versus button against 3-bet. So this is also pretty massive overfold, I think. So cutoff against button, so yeah, 56 instead of 40, so even including ICM and everything, yeah, they're not calling because there is going to be some ICM hands and whatnot, but they're not really either jamming enough, so they're still going to be massively overfolding. So this is definitely a spot where at 40 big blinds we want to play more 3 bets. Yeah, and already this is already covered. So moving to 30 big blinds, we're gonna see some similar trends here. So for our player, he's missing some bottom of the RFI open. So what we can do, we can see here that his numbers are missing some opens, and as we go here and see which hands he folded, we can see that he's missing bottom open. So some king 9, some king 7 suited, some king 5 suited that is going to be pure open, some queen 7 suited that is going to be pure open. Yeah, ace 8 off is going to be pure open in most cases. Yes, there is going to be some ICM, some PKOs, but like looking here at the blinds, there is definitely missed value here with RFIs. And also if you take in consideration that responses behind it are not going to be like solver ones, they're going to be more passive in general, so our opens are going to make even more EV, so definitely we want to be opening more. Same thing on the cutoff, missing some queen 9 off, missing basically the bottom of the range. But yeah, you can see when you go like this, you can see the 10-9 off is like really missed very often, and yeah, this is in most cases can be a very profitable open. So this is for opens and defending more BVB. So this player is not defending enough BVB. So, and when we see big blind versus small blind 3.5, he's massively overfolding, right? So we can again see which kind of hands he's folding. And yeah, we see, yeah, this is call. So yeah, like we see some 10-5 suited. This might be, but this is like not even, this is not even ICM. So that this might be misclick or something. But yeah, like if you look again at 40 big blinds, what should be the, at least when we're playing for chips, what should be a defend against 3.5x open? We can see that we go as far as these type of hands and most suited hands we're defending, and also we are looking to no, this is wrong. Yeah, so these type of hands, and also like we want to find this 11% 3-bet, and the way to do it is basically you can choose the easiest way for me to remember is basically you want to take bottom of your calling range, and take some of that as your 3-bet. So basically whenever something is close, all of this is mixing in some 3-bets. So you can basically overbluff here for sure, because this is gonna be an overfolded spot. So what you can do basically, you can take all of these bottom ones and basically pure 3-bet and make this, instead of 11, make it like 15, 16, and it's just gonna work really well for you. And one thing you definitely don't want to do is to overfold, so you don't want to fold these type of hands here. And we can see that our hero is folding some of these and probably not finding enough 3-bets. And this is one of the, yeah, he's finding some 3-bets, but yeah, not finding enough flats. So next thing, so what is population doing here at 30 big blinds? So let's see. So they're under 3-betting big blind versus MP, so we definitely want to overfold to 3-bets. That's going to be an easy one. They're limping too strong again, same thing as at 40 big blinds, and we want to again ISO stronger and size up. Moving on to 20 big blinds, so our player is not PPAPing enough BVB, so definitely he wants to, so if you look here, so he's not limping enough, he's limping much less, and he's probably folding some, yes, it's folding some like a reasonable hands. Yes, there might be some ICM and stuff. This is all like a higher blinds, and this is all higher blinds, whatever. But it might be still that, yeah, this is on the lower blinds, and these suited hands, yeah, this is also not too high blinds. And also if you take in consideration that we're slightly going to over realize, then we can see that he definitely wants to play a wider strategy. So this is probably a misclick or something. Yeah, so that's one. And raise more low jack hijack. Again, he's gonna miss the bottoms of the range, same thing as before. You can easily see which type of hands he's missing. And the population, what they're gonna do, so actually now, so they're gonna be folding to ISO more. So this is gonna be a kind of a different spot than at 40 and 30 big blinds. So if you look at 20, so what they're gonna do, they're gonna actually limp fold a little bit more. So they're gonna be folding basically more than they're supposed to. So this is gonna be a spot again where we can either jam more or raise more polar, and I think, yeah, raise more polar and wider as a bluff is gonna be a good exploit. Again, overfolding BVB as in other spots, so it's just gonna be again a spot where we want to overbluff by raising. So for 15 big blinds, it's not going to be too many exploits. The population, our player is playing reasonable, and the population are, yeah, this is going to be for population. They jam too tight, 6 to 10 big blinds from all positions, so we want to be folding marginal hands. So if you look here, and basically 6 to 10 blinds, they're jamming too tight, so they're basically. Yeah, we just want to make sure that we're not calling them as wide as the solver suggests. And this is going to be a very important spot, right? Because these spots are going to happen quite frequently, especially with the today's structures. Okay, so that's going to be it for pre-flop, and we're going to touch the post-flop now. And as for post-flop, we're gonna start with these 2-bet in position PFR spots, and we're gonna look what kind of leaks a player can improve, and also what exploits he can look for. So very, very important one and frequent one, fold to turn probe. This is a frequent leak of population, and it's basically a big problem one, because naturally even recreational players are probing turns more than they should. So and even here, if you look at this sample of frags, if you look how much they probe turn, so they probe turn 42 instead of 35%. So that's kind of a big problem for us when we are deciding to overfold. And the main thing why overfold happens is because we're c-betting too much on the flop, which is kind of like reasonable. We get some EV there from overfolds, but also like I think that this is overlooked. People are too they are used to this strategy. Yeah, let's just see bet range, they're gonna overfold, but there is gonna be massive EV spots in check lines, because this is the line where people are not really used to play enough. So if you study this a little bit more, there is potentially much higher EV gains there, because everyone knows basically how to play now. I mean, like, they're at least practiced in the spot where they face a small c-bet, and check notes are gonna have some really big potentials for EV swings and for EV gains. So what you want to do is make sure that you're not folding. So if you look at the player here, so he's folding to all sizes. He's massively overfolding against the probe, and the reason is basically he's c-betting too much, which is kind of okay, but still, like, you have to still leave some hands in for facing probes. And he's also, it's not the only reason, he's also folding the pure call hands for sure. So yeah, and you can see why this is a problem, because population is probably even like intuitively knows that this probe is working fine, and they're probing a lot. So what you can do, you can raise probes more. So this is going to be a really good exploit, right? Because if you look here, so let's say when they probe small, they're gonna fold 61% of the time. So that's crazy, right? I mean, let's look what it should be. So let's take a random spot, right? So whatever, even we put a really good board for the out of position, where they're gonna look to do some linear betting and stuff. So whatever, lead small for 33 and face a raise, we're gonna use this 7.5 size. So what do you expect? So it's not gonna be even close to 60. So they're gonna be able to fold maybe 25%, 30%, something like that. 35, okay. So like it's not even close to 60, right? So this is gonna be a massive overfold. And yeah, this is spots where you can basically adjust your range and play some check raises even wider for value. So you can basically check raise, I mean not check raise, raise in position against probe. So you can check like a7 and raise on the turn. That's gonna be even a solver play, but you can do it pure, right? You can do king 7 pure. So yeah, like, but maybe like if they're overfolding, you probably don't want to do that with value as much, but I mean, you still gain some protection, but you want to be over bluffing massively. So that's just gonna be a huge EV gain here. So next, the same thing happens on the river, right? So fold to river probe is for this player quite big, right? So if you look at the river fold probe, it's 51. And if you look for population, what they do, so it's slightly better. So they're doing slightly better against the small size. Against these sizes, they're folding more. Against big sizes, so like all sizes are massively like overfolded. So what is the biggest reason why this happens? Because they're not barreling, so they're bringing too much air on the river, right? So they're not getting rid of the air hands on the turn. So they bet like too much equity driven, and they don't have enough no equity stuff or like weak equity stuff. So they're gonna bring too much of the air on the river, and yeah, obviously you're gonna fold a lot because you're not gonna looking to call with 10 high on the river, right? So yeah, and you can basically see it like this. Yeah, we can basically see in the player. So he's gonna have missed trash and missed over cards quite a lot. So basically what he wants to do is he wants to get rid of these, right? I mean, yes, he folded some low pairs and missed draws, but he doesn't have ace highs that much, right? So yeah, he has 11% ace highs here that he folded, but this is the biggest problem, right? So this hands he wants to get rid in earlier streets, right? So he don't have it here too much. And same thing for population as well. Yeah, so next, what population is doing wrong. So basically one of the main things that they are doing wrong is when they c-bet, they're going to be massively overfolding to check raises, and especially if it's played button versus big blind. So because they bet too much of a they bet too wide ranges and they end up folding way too much. So check raises there are going to be quite beneficial. And if it yeah, so this player is aware of that, and you can easily see here that he's punishing basically that. And if you look here, he's doing quite well. He won hand quite a lot, and then this is just going to be a great. So you want, ideally you want this, right? You want to exactly go and exploit population tendencies. So basically you're aware that they're bet folding too much, and you're going and punishing that immediately. So that's it. And so population also fold too much to probe, so so you definitely want to probe more. And let's see if this player is doing that. Yes, so he's punishing that as well, so that's pretty good. We want to see this is great. So let's go to, so yeah, you can basically yeah, check mark this. So let's say he already is doing that. So for the time he sent another database, like this is already solved, so he don't need to solve this. So they under bluff for big sizes on the river. So so this is also important line. So when they're in position pre-flop aggressor, when it goes bet, So this is the line. So what do we see here? So when they overbet, like you don't need to stand there and say, oh, I have a good blocker, I have this, I have that. You just fold range. It's as simple as that. Like you don't need to, you're not playing against Stevie or I don't know who is like really thinking about having balanced ranges. You're playing against someone, and you can easily see here. So he's missing bluffs by like 20%. So it's insane to call anything that is not beating value here. Even think about so you can just basically pure fold against these type of players, and the only size where they get close to the bluffing is this between like 0.6 and 0.8. So this is the only size where the when we're playing basically shallow, where we can think about bluff catching something, right? Again, there's going to be spots where they're not gonna have enough value and you can range call, but I think it's going to be simpler if you just fold range in these type of spots than really do what. So let's see if how this player is doing. Yeah, he's folding on the river to the big sizes, but not, yeah, he's probably aware of this and folding a little bit more, but still yeah, the problem is like this player is not folding on the turn, which is basically a kind of a problem. So against the pot size, he's calling like even he's calling basically the same as GTO, but you just don't want to do that, right? Because you can easily see here that this guy is this population is really under bluffing by a lot. So they have weak percentages of 38% only. But let's see, like what do we expect? So let's put like something like this, whatever. So what's going to be the bluffing frequency on the turn for in position player? So they have 38. It's not going to be nowhere close to that, especially as the bigger size you use, the more bluffing you're going to need to do. So for example here, B125, so what do we see as bluffs? So it's going to be like 20, 44, and then 10, 53%. So 50, 53, 55%. So they're massively under bluffing, right? And you can easily see why, right? So like if you just hover over these things, right? So do you really have players in your player pool that does this at this frequency? So these hands are firing almost always, right? And these are basically pure nothing, right? The 8-5 of spades, right? So like even ace-5 of spades that looks like really bad, blocks some backdoor spades and stuff, even that is firing at a very high frequency. So yeah, so and also like yeah, it's crazy to, so even solver against this is gonna fold a lot, but like when if you know log, just if one of the players broke equilibrium, then we already start. So the only reason why we call the 10-5s here, this hand is gonna have a very low EV, right? So I mean, it's not gonna have the great EV, right? So yeah, let's look 10-7 for it. So it's gonna be very close one, right? And the only reason is because this player has a very balanced ranges and appropriate number of bluffs. And if you would say that he has 38% bluffs, then you would probably, I mean, we can try to do this, but we're probably gonna even reach to some top pairs as folds. So yeah, be mindful about this type of things. So next up, we're gonna look at the 2-bet pot in position when we are the pre-flop caller. So player is the main leak here is that people fall too much to c-bets, and this is the population leak, right? And this player is probably not doing that, as I didn't mention that is in the notes. So here they fall too much, and yeah, it's like I'm gonna show you the examples. Like it's like a very easy to fold, because you're supposed to, especially against small sizes, you're supposed to call like a very weak hand. So I mean, here there is not bet, no, there is not that much bet, but just to prove the point, it doesn't matter too much. So you have to reach to all of your deuces without a heart and pure call for quite a good profit, right? And the reason is like you're basically allowed to fold only this, so only this much against this size. So you kind of have to find a way to defend. And yeah, this is not really intuitive for humans, and this is why this overfold happens. And you definitely don't want to do this against population. You want to call more, because what's going to happen, they're going to underbluff the turn, and they're going to overfold to rivers if it goes check check, and they're going to also overfold to turns when they check to you. So you definitely don't want to do that. You definitely want to play sticky early straights against this type of population. It's going to be different against some stronger players, of course. So for this player, he wants to, he's not betting the flop, right? So if you look here what he's doing, so this is the line, so he's not betting the flop. So what do you think is going to happen on the turn? So if he doesn't bet the flop enough, and like if you look at the weak frequency, it has 60%, but still on the flop you can have a lot. But what's going to happen if he's not betting enough? He's probably going to fold a lot to the in the line when he checks the flop goes check check, and he faces a bet, which you can see here, like it's massive overfold. So like to this small size he's folding 60%, right? Because he's just not getting rid of the air enough. So if you look what type of hands he has trashed, like quite a lot here. And yes, of course you cannot fire all of your trash always, but there is going to be spots where the board is particularly good for you, and for example this board is good for us, this board can be a reasonable yeah, like this board is a very reasonable for us, and then yeah, you just want to get rid of your trash way more often on the flop, and this is how you avoid this. So yeah, these are the adjustments here. And population fold too much to c-bet, so we, depending on the spots, we choose do we want to, they also fold to delay c-bets as well, so we're gonna choose if we want to c-bet too much or delay c-bet. Also they are fast playing strong hands, leaving checking ranges unprotected, so we want to attack checks more and fold more versus aggression. Very simple, very clean exploit. So the last thing we're gonna look today is going to be basically to bet out of position pre-flop card. This is gonna be the big blind basically, and what our player is doing here, he's not folding, which is good. He's attacking button versus big blind spot, which basically shows that he's aware of population leaks here, and he's doing that really well. So he's playing this spot reasonable. The leak that most people have is they're kind of calling too much versus early position and folding too much versus late position. So this is universally true. And you can see it here. So population is calling too much when they're against early positions. They're gonna call some stuff like ace high and stuff. They're not gonna realize equity, but against they're basically calling the same range, the same percentages. It doesn't matter if it's like early position or button or cutoff, which should be obviously very different. So yeah, like the easy exploits against that is are gonna be obvious. So we want to c-bet more here, and if they so they are also under check raise against EPMP, so we would definitely want to be folding more against check raises. Yeah, this we want to borrow turns and rivers more aggressively in early position MP, because they're gonna bring like a stronger ranges, right? So the part of the reason why solver is folding more, because it's gonna face a lot of aggression on later state, so it overfolds MDF on the flop to be able to reach it later in the nodes. So the one of the leagues that I found for this player, he's not protecting his double check line. But this is a minor one. I mean, like you want to be careful about this if you're playing like a very high stakes. But as you can see, this player, when he checks 2 times, like you can basically bet everything against him. He doesn't check raise anything. He just basically check folds or check calls some middle pairs and big stuff. Basically, yes, it's just gonna have draw plus pair, the natural ones basically, or some ace highs. Yeah, and the general takeaways usually I do together with the player. So like when I talk with player, I would ask him what he thinks are takeaways, and we're gonna do that together. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for today. Yeah, thanks, and yeah, see you. Bye bye.